Yeah, good morning. I think it's morning for everybody.
And it's Friday, Ricardo.
It sure
In case
is.
you
Yep.
forgot.
Yes, indeed. It's got people jumping in. Glenn, you got a question there? I see your hand up. Or is that a hello?
Yes.
Oh,
No. Yes. Thank you for taking my question. I have to teach a class right after our session, and so what happened was I had Classic Teams and Windows 10, and in my class I play a couple of videos. Some are internal on our network, some are from YouTube, and the people in the class, whether they were connected to Teams and they heard the sound perfectly. Then I was upgraded to Windows 11 and new Teams, and I did a class yesterday, and the PC lab was wired as a Microsoft Teams room,
hmm,
and they had some people in the PC lab listening not on and viewing not on their individual PCs, but on a big TV, a flat screen in the room and through the MTR, Microsoft Teams room, and
okay.
some people connecting remotely just through Teams on their computer. And the people who were connecting remotely through Teams on their computer could see and hear everything clearly. The people inside the Microsoft Teams room could only see the video. They could not hear any sound, even though when I did present screen, I checked the, turn on sound slider. So what they did was, after this session, I'm going to go and teach my class. They rolled me back to Classic Teams to see if that might help. But have you heard of any problems, um, either with Windows 11 or new Teams having difficulty connecting to a Microsoft Teams room? When the whole room is wired with a box, so that people don't have to be logged in individually on their laptops. They can just be sitting around a table and they see the Teams presentation on a big flat screen and they hear it through speakers.
Yeah. I have not heard specifically of a new client, new Teams or Win 11 issue there. Where I'll start with this is just that I have been in Teams rooms that have had, an audio issue where I've had to go to the little device and fiddle around with, inputs and outputs or whatever, whatever those options are. So, like fingers crossed, it maybe is an issue with that room because you said all the remote people were fine. It was the people in the room that couldn't hear, but they could see. That would be my first thought is with, what's up with the, speakers in this room or let me go to the device and make sure, the audio from my machine is going where it's supposed to be, all that good stuff. I can't think offhand of what in new Teams or Windows 11 would complicate that, especially given
that's
that
my
the
take
remote
too.
folks are good. Yeah.
Yeah, my first thought was the connection locally in the room, but that's a tricky one, Glenn. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, especially since there was two big things upgraded at the same time. Um, so you got a lot of variables in there. You got the Teams room, you got a brand new Teams client, brand new OS. But I like the approach of rolling back to what you had before. Then the only variable at that point should be the room itself. And if there's still an audio issue there, in theory, that kind of suggests maybe something's up with the speakers or the connections with the machine to the audio, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I'll after this session, I'm going to do the class, and the next time we meet, I'll let you know how it went or if we
Yeah.
found anything new.
Awesome, cool. All right. Well, if you're new to Cute for Teams, you just seen what we're here for, which is just coming with questions, and we try to talk it out and help you with anything M365 related, really, with a focus on teams and collaboration. So I'm Ricardo. She's Stacy. And glad you're here. So as always, anybody here can either use the chat, raise your hand, come off mute, and we can talk about anything here. And hope I think everybody can see my screen. The reason I happen to be on the People tab here is because I had noticed that presence wasn't showing here, and I think I've seen that that's coming. So we talked about, well, maybe back up in case we talked about People tab, this People app as the replacement for what in classic Teams was a drop down here in the chat for getting to people. So now it's a separate app. Behavior is relatively similar in that you can, let me actually expand this. You can have categories to put people in, things like that. But what has been missing that I, wanted really is the presence. Because even when it depends on if it's external customers or even internal team members. I mean, I have in my actual teams, I have a category related to my account team, and I put people in that. And part of why I do that is to click on it and then be able to see the presence of people on the team in case I'm trying to reach out about something who's green right now. So I did see that coming, and I haven't checked the commercial tenant, but at least in this GCC demo tenant, it doesn't seem to be there yet. So it's the little things, right? That's a small feature, but for me, that's a big one. That's a big piece of data that would give me is presence. Now, I can click on them, and none of these people are. I mean, these is all demo folks, so I don't think any of them are going to go green or anything unless I open up one of their browsers. But I can click on any individual and see. So that is always there, but I like having the whole list and being able to scroll down the list and see the presence.
This is awesome. So I haven't tinkered with this one. So you're saying that the presence in the People app for Teams is on the roadmap and coming soon?
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. I like that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right. You can click on them and get there, but you can do that in chat too. So I see that as a real differentiator in why you would go to the People app in the first place.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I will also say, since I'm here, I don't know. I've been in the People app lately. I don't know why, but the other thing to this too is for any given user, for any given person, you come here and you can edit. And some things are editable, some are not, because the system already knows something about them. But I think, as I mentioned before, these people, these contacts, are meant to sync up with in Outlook the people here as well. And what I've found, one is that I don't know what it takes to sync properly. I've done edits here and I've done edits in Teams. I've seen them eventually sync, but I don't know what the trigger is, to make that happen, because it does not seem to be instantaneous. But the reason I came here is just to say that when it comes to editing the users, it's a little more robust on this side, on the Outlook side. And in fact, I'm trying to find, this may not be synced. This one may not be synced at all. Because I'm not finding my users from over there. But in my real life tenant, there is a sync when I make changes in one versus the other. And so I just call out, using Outlook might be an easier way to make additional edits, especially when I want to go put people's cell phones, which the system doesn't know about, but I know about. And so I add them to the Outlook contact, and they end up showing up over here. Why is that important? I mean, one, just it's nice to be able to see the cell phone number if you've got it. But if you are a Teams phone user, then you're using people often to come and make an actual call from Teams. And if the mobile is there, then you'll have, the option. Do I have anybody with let me see. You'll have the option of which to call. I don't think I have any mobile phones in here, but if I did, there'd be a call button here for me to call work versus their mobile. So I am a Teams phone user, so having those numbers in there is very useful for me. I'm always scared to. I think the call in general, I think maybe defaults to the work phone. I'm always scared to test that out. I don't want to call somebody at the wrong number. I have to try that one day, or look it up or something. But in any case, that's why I like to go to the profile card here, so I can explicitly call the number that I want. So yeah. So anybody out there that is a Teams phone user or going to Teams phone, the People app, you'll want to get more used to, because you'll be coming in here and connecting with people, making calls with folks. And I'm the same way on my mobile phone too. My contacts list, I like it to just be nice and pristine and with pictures and all the right info. So that's probably why I fiddle in this so much. But anyway, that's the People app. People app in Teams, and People or Contacts in Outlook. Again, they are meant to work together.
Yeah, I love that. Now, since that is a Microsoft first-party app, they should, if their organization allows all new Microsoft first-party apps to appear in Teams, that should resolve for them without any IT admin intervention, right?
Yeah, this GCC demo tenant.
Perfect.
It didn't appear, because it's a separate app, it did not appear on my left rail automatically. I did have to search for it, but then it was right there. And then it's been good ever since. So
if they're not seeing it in their Teams when they do a search, then it becomes up to them and their IT admin to enable that.
Right.
Yeah. But hopefully it's there for everyone.
Yep. Good stuff there. Quiet in the chat today. Again, use the chat or come off mute if you got any questions.
Yeah, I wonder if the Monday looming holiday, it might not be a holiday for everybody, but it is a holiday at Microsoft, and it may very well be across some of the government agencies. I know it's a bank holiday, right? President's Day. Maybe that's contributed a little bit to our lower attendance today, but we're glad everybody who's here is here. And I recognize some of the names. Yep. I think maybe all the names have been here before. So welcome in, welcome back, and please bring your questions if you have some.
While you're thinking about that, last time we talked about mobile, I'm not, I remember you guys voted, you don't really use the mobile, so I'm not gonna force that on you. But the topic I was gonna talk about last week was just the meeting polls. I don't know if people make a lot of use of that. The reason why that came up for me is that as long as meeting polls have been out, I still find myself in meetings where when it's used, people are like pleasantly surprised. It's like they haven't, maybe interacted with a real-time poll before. And so as a creator of polls, I think it's also important for us to know kind of how to work with those.
Yeah, I think that's why attendees don't know it and are surprised pleasantly when they see it, because organizers and presenters maybe aren't leaning on it enough.
Right.
They forget it's there, or they just don't have the familiarity with the ability to do that. But yeah, I think it's very powerful for an engagement tool in any meeting.
Yeah.
But I
So,
agree. I've been in audiences where it's like, ooh,
yeah.
and I am excited to see it used whenever it gets used.
Yeah. And here's one theory I have for why we as meeting organizers don't use it as much is because sometimes you don't you're not ready to use it until you get in the meeting and realize this would be a good time for a poll. And that can be a little uh, intimidating to be live in a meeting, especially if it's a large one, and to have to fire up a poll. Now, that it is certainly is possible. So I'm in a meeting. I would fire up the poll app. I'd add it, couple steps, couple clicks to get it added, and it is ready to go. And so two flavors, right? One is literally a very instant app of something's been asked in the meeting itself, and I just want everyone in the meeting to kind of say yes or no, thumbs down, like it or not like it, right? So something has been verbally asked, and I want an immediate response, right? So those polls are there. Again, if you're brand new to polls and this comes up in a meeting that might be intimidating to click on, but they are there for a very immediate, no prep work needed. I don't have to type in anything. I just want to get some response. So those are good for that. But outside of that would then be polls that you're kind of pre-creating with some questions and answers for people to choose from, right? The classic one is just a multiple choice one. The one I used recently, a ranking one, which when I posted this out, I wanted to talk through it because I knew this ranking concept where people are actually putting their top answers at the top and moving other ones down to the bottom. That takes a little while. I did a little jazz hands as that occurred because I knew that was going to take a little more thought, and I had a bunch of options in there. But you do have all of those. Again, in a meeting, right there in the moment, depending on how fast you can type it up and hit launch now, and then it's ready to go. But especially if you're maybe in a meeting where someone else is helping you run the meeting, maybe someone being in there to save a poll as a draft might be useful as well. And you can make as many of those as you want. You can see them here in green, and just launch them at the appropriate time. Maybe once someone kind of cues it up or asks a certain question or something, you can launch it at that time. So all of that is possible right in the moment. And once you get used to it, it's not that bad. So I was working with someone who had about 10 different polls that they needed to run throughout the meeting, and helped them get comfortable with that. And that meeting, I heard, went well, where they were firing off a poll every time a particular question needed to be asked. What I also helped that person with was not having there was enough polls that they needed that prep work to be done ahead of time. And so that's where we then come to a meeting like let's just move that, like this one, for instance. We kind of have that almost like the back room, backstage, I guess, of a meeting, where before this meeting is occurring, I can be doing things like prepping breakout rooms or other things. But one of the things that I can do ahead of time is add the polls ahead of time. So I've got this full interface for my polls. Again, before the meeting ever shows, nobody who's on this meeting is going to see any of this because I'm going to put them all in draft, but I can do the same thing that I could have done in that meeting and then save it as a draft, right? And I can just make a bunch of these, and now all of these are ready to go once the meeting starts. One thing that we always call out is, what kind of experience do you want in terms of anonymity? That is the gearbox down here. Do I want to record the names of the respondents? And even then, it's just visible to me. want to share the results. In the case of the person I was helping, they didn't want the results shared. They just needed the data from the meeting participants. And then who doesn't want help, right? Allow co-presenters to edit polls as well. So you've got some options there. So that's the gearbox and it's, I call it out because it's very subtle down at the bottom and probably easy to miss. So again, I'm prepping all of these ahead of time. I've got plenty of time to, get all of what I need done. And so then once we're ready to join the meeting, polls is already there. Click on that. The drafts are ready to go. And then as a meeting organizer, very little work needed to get these things going. All I'm doing is hitting launch in the moment. And it's popping up in front of them as well as showing up in the chat. And life is good. You can see in the chat, they don't see the draft one. They just see the one that I posted. So very useful. And also useful to take that data and, grab the exports later. For instance, if I let's go back to polls, this ranking one, where you rank a bunch of different options. Let me just launch that one. So you get to just decide which one should be up at the top and all that good stuff, right? Hit submit. And it's got a cool graphic there to show you. Obviously, there's only one submission, but to show you how the rankings ended up. When I export the results or even see the response details, it's not going to be as cute here, but with a lot of choices, this has it's a color range depending on how many choices you have, and it's kind of an elaborate explanation of what people chose. So even though option 4 might be at the top of the list, how many people made it their first choice versus their second, third, or fourth, and so on. So again, if I had more data, this would be a little more colorful. Exporting it, not a fan of the Excel version of this poll because it is accurate, but it is not pretty. As you can see here, if I make this a little bigger, it's just all the options, one after the other. So nothing pretty on the Excel part, but it is pretty here. I think I've screenshotted this as a way of showing other team members the data. So yeah. And the last thing I'll say about this, if I go over to forms, and if I refresh, I believe this is one. No, that may not be. Your polls will show up here as well. No, I think they'll be like in a read-only state. And I'm trying to remember where I think this is one of them, right? Yes, this is the one I just made. Read only, can't be edited. But again, this might not be obvious that your poll is represented as a form over in forms for you. And that, to me, that's just useful to kind of have them all in one place, maybe even to see the responses again.
Yeah, I think that's an important call out that people are aware that not only did that poll surface in the meeting where you created it and drove it, but you have access to those results after the fact, which is important, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so like even the summary link, I don't know if that could happen from the other poll. Maybe not. Kind of, I don't know where I am now. Get out of that. But yeah, so those polls are there. Is there a summary? There is export results. But yeah, I don't see that link to the summary. So that may be a unique to going over to forms versus, just staying over here in the polls tab. So it seems to suggest that this poll, because those of us who've been doing teams a while remember back in the day, all we had was forms for our polls and meetings. And then one day it evolved into this very elegant poll app, but the fact that they're still over in forums kind of makes me think maybe the technologies are still somehow connected. If they are, that's cool with me as long as it stays nice and cute and elegant on the team side, even if the back end is forms. That works for me. So,
Me too.
so yeah. So I just keep that in mind that you do not have to rely on being spontaneous in the meeting and firing up a poll. Polls can be done ahead of time. And again, that's a subtle feature, very easy to miss, because that polls tab is not there until you add it. So, that'd be a very easy feature to miss. But yes, you can pre-create your polls just like you can pre-create your breakout rooms now, and just really be ready for that key meeting. So hopefully that maybe helps you use more polls in the future. If nothing else, it sometimes helps break up the monotony of your standard meeting when people can see that pop up. It feels like a little bit of fun added to the meeting. So good stuff there. Just to maybe do a thumbs up if you have used a poll in a meeting. I see a hand raised and a thumbs up. Okay. All right. Couple folks, I didn't see a thumbs up. Either they're maybe they have or haven't. But if you haven't, then hopefully this was useful to you. But I did see at least half the room seems like they have used it before. So good stuff. All right. Any final, in our last couple minutes, any other questions or thoughts before we wrap up? If not, again, for most of you, I think, or maybe all of us, enjoy your 3-day weekend. If you don't have Monday off, then we're sorry we rubbed it in. And and we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks. Right. Good luck with your training, Glenn.
Yes, I agree. Good luck. Well, thanks, Ricardo.
Yep. Thank you.